Hello, everyone, and welcome to another exciting week of the next issue. I'm your host, The Power Trip, and going back and looking back at past discussions and past articles and videos I've had, I realized something. We are almost exactly a week away from Dragon Con, and this time last year I was doing my March to Dragon Con to help promote cosplay and, well, all over creation, whoever can actually hear this or, anything, but I love cosplay, I love comic books, I love anything like that, and, comic books in all its form, whether it's movie, video games, cosplaying, all that good stuff, and I realized that, with Suicide Squad coming out and everything, and a bunch of new events going on, Rebirth, comic book movies, stuff like that, I completely forgot to do a March to Dragon Con this year. Much like Gen Con, I will be in attendance to Dragon Con, so if you happen to see me around, if I'm not in costume, feel free, say hi, let me know, you can greet me, whatever, high five me, whatever tickles your fancy, so to speak. But anyway, I digress. Last year, I was covering many different costumes, but with only a week away, I figured I'd cover what I feel is probably the easiest form of costume. And I know more than likely I've said this in my past cosplay videos, but I feel like a one-piece bodysuit, full-on just one-piece bodysuit that you can just slip in, boom, you're in one big costume. I know it's form-fitting, but, and that's one thing I want to touch on. I don't care, personally, this is my opinion, my view, my looks on things. I don't care what you look like. I don't care your weight, your height, your build, whether, you're handicapped, not handicapped, anything. I don't care. Long hair, short hair, bald, whatever. If you want to cosplay a character that in the comic books looks one way and you look another, go for it. The point isn't how you look per se. And I say per se because I know to any cosplayer, you're going to judge yourself on how you look. I'm not saying that how you look doesn't matter, period. What I'm saying is how you look should not matter to everybody else under creation. As a cosplayer, judge how you look by, are you happy with it, and is the target audience you want to care about it happy with it? If your target audience is just you yourself, great. As long as you're happy with it, power to you. If your target audience is only kids and some adult comes by and says you look stupid, who cares? As long as the kids come up and they think you look awesome, that's your target audience. That's all that should matter, is what you want to look like, how you feel in the costume. As long as you are comfortable, you're happy with it. I can tell you right now, there are two things in the comic book world, actually in the real world, I should say, two things that can piss me off in a heartbeat. Someone stepping all over continuity without some good story reason, or at least a valid argument to me. I am a very argumentative person, and I say that I don't mean I like to get into fights. I mean, I will debate. I guess that's the proper term to say. I will debate. And I will debate till I'm blue in the face. If you have a better debate than me, that doesn't make me angry. I love it. If you can prove me wrong, if you can debate me and you can actually show me why Superman should have died, or showed me why Spider-Man's better off single and not married, power to you. But, if you want to walk all over continuity and as a, writer or anybody else, and it's just because, boom, you just don't like it, well, honestly, that's your opinion. That's great and everything. But if you're trying to come up and tell me that you think Superior Spider-Man's better than regular Spider-Man, and I honestly would disagree with you, but I'm okay to debate that. As long as your argument coming up to me isn't just that you think Peter Parker's just stupid. And even then, that's not going to piss me off, but at that point, it's just that thing where it's like, okay, this is no longer a debate, this is just me listening to you complaining about this. Which I'm fine to do. I've got no problem listening to that. I'm just saying at that point, we're no longer debating, it's stopped being a debate at that point. Anyway, I'm shuffling off topics here. Going back to topic. A lot of things are coming up in the Spider-Man world. The return of the Clone Saga. I'm sure I'm hearing a lot of groans worldwide on that one. As being one of like 3 people on the planet that enjoyed the Clone Saga back in the 90s, I'm actually happy to see this happen. But between that, the other thing I'm actually really excited about, the return of Spider-Man Renew Your Vows coming this November. Yay, I finally get to have married Peter Parker with his daughter and everything back, which is the way I think Peter should be. Personally, I think Spider-Man before Brand New Day and One More Day was better. I personal opinion, so it's out there. Brand New Day and One More Day was a debacle. I hate that storyline with a passion. The idea that you want to change everything just because as a writer you think single Peter Parker is better than married Peter Parker. That's, I mean, obviously, if it's working, it's making sales, hey, I'm in the minority. That's fine. But personal opinion, I liked him better the other way. I liked him better when he was in that married relationship, showing what a hero can be and should be. Not that all heroes need to be married. I know I'm going to sit here and stumble my way through this, but what my point is one person's reason to do it is not always going to make everybody happy. So, hey, power to you. But the main point of this is, once again, the bodysuit. And going back into that, I want to touch base on the idea, go as your favorite version of Spider-Man or Spider-Girl, Spider-Gwen. Lord knows there are plenty of Spider characters out there for you to try on. Personally, my favorite Spider-Man of all time, and I say this because he was my Spider-Man. He came out during my generation, because Peter Parker's been around since before I was born. And while a lot of people may like him, they may say, hey, this is my Spider-Man. Not because he started whenever I came out, but because out of all of them that's happened, he's my favorite. That's great. To me, my favorite Spider-Man was the Spider-Man 2099, Miguel O'Hara. He's my favorite. Not just because he was an original Spider-Man that came out during my time frame, my generation, but also because I love his character, I love his era, I love the fact that it was a whole new thing to do. It was like having the Ultimate Universe before the Ultimate Universe ever happened. It was, here is the future. This is what the future of Marvel's going to be. We're not going to tell you how we got here, for obvious reasons, but here is this dark Neo world that none of the heroes from beforehand are around, including the ones that should be technically because of, aging healing factors, immortality, stuff like that. For whatever reason, they're not there anymore. So basically we're having to start from the ground up, and the only thing we know about the old world is somehow all the heroes died at the end of the heroic age. Which, funny enough as it is, Marvel has already had a heroic age, and the heroes are still around. Now, given what, as ages go, they could easily say that the 2099 universe is a parallel world, which they brought back 2099 in current books. Whether or not they're still saying it's an alternate future or is still technically the established future is up for debate, because there could be a second heroic age, a third heroic age. They never stated what heroic age all the heroes disappeared in. So, going into continuity and stuff there, it was a fun thing for me, and that's my favorite, and that's the Spider-Man I like to wear. So, when it comes to the costumes, I feel like with the full body suit, in my opinion, you can have like the hand pieces, you can do a separate pair of gloves, or you can still make it just one full body suit with the hand piece as part of the sleeves. Same with the cowl. That can be something that just pulls over. It's just part of the bodysuit, or you could have it as a separate piece to pull over on you. Personally, I like to keep my cowl separate, and I actually like to have the gloves separate with a little part that snaps on there for my costume that I like to wear. But it's definitely, I think, the most simplistic. The only difficult part of it, honestly, is probably how you want the eyes to look, the lensing. If you want just the white mesh, that can be pretty hard to look through. If you want something see-through, or if you just don't want lenses at all. It really depends on how you want the costume to look. You have Spider-Man left and right and Spider-Girls left and right that don't have anything there, so you can see their eyes, which is not how the regular comics look, but, I mean, they're comic books. Not everything is going to work in real-world standards. Some people have a see-through mesh that they do manage to see through just fine. Personally, I actually have a lensing thing where I take what's best described as Cobra Commander's mask from the 80s. It's a mask you can find at a cheap Halloween store, and it's like a one-way mirror, so to speak. When I put it on, I can see out of it like a pair of dark sunglasses, but when you're looking at me, you just see a reflection of yourself. And so what I've done, I've taken this and I've cut out parts of it to make the lenses and basically like sewn it into the cowl. So now I can see you as long as it's well lit, because like I said, it works like sunglasses. But when you look at me, you see a reflection of yourself, which is just totally awesome, especially in pictures. It looks magnificent. It looks exactly the way it should. Another thing is a little tidbit I've gotten from my personal cosplay person that helps me out with everything. Force stretch lycra, honestly, is the best thing I could ever suggest for a bodysuit. You have two-way stretch lycra, which works, but four-way, you can sit, you can bend, you can backflip, you can do whatever. It's four-way stretch. You're not going to have any issue there. It gives you a lot more leeway, a lot more, I can run in my suit, I can sit, I can roll, I can, push-ups, whatever I got to do, I can do it. I can jump around, I can do all sorts of different poses and things for Spider-Man that I couldn't do in, well, not for stretch lycra. That's probably the biggest suggestion I can give you there, on top of just doing a bodysuit in any way when you're this close to a convention. For me, with Spider-Man 2099, I wanted to capture the old 90s look and how it looked there, so I actually have a metallic force stretch lycra, so I'm very shiny, which is very reminiscent of the 90s. You know how their covers and stuff, where you had holograms and shiny covers everywhere and everything, and whenever you read the book, his costume kind of seemed a little bit, at times, like it has a little bit of armor-esque to it, and that's what mine kind of looks like, but it's very 90s version of futuristic, and I really love it. It's an amazing costume. So if you see a Spider-Man 2099 at Dragon Con, that's more than likely me. I have yet to see another one whenever I go. I'm not saying they're not there, but because Dragon Con is huge, but that's kind of one of my favorites to wear. But that's the thing about Spider-Man. You can do any of them. Spider-Gwen is probably one of the most popular female Spider characters out there right now. Silk is another good one. I don't think she's quite caught on in as much popularity as Spider-Gwen. In fact, Spider-Gwen's probably the most popular one since they did the M2 continuity Mayday Parker, Spider-Girl. And then, of course, you've always had Spider-Woman, one version or another, around for a while. And then you have your different versions of Spider-Man. You could go as any of the versions of Peter Parker that have been around. You can go as Miles, which is awesome. I am a huge backer of Miles. I love Miles in the Ultimate Spider-Man universe and everything. I love what the Ultimate Universe did for Spider-Man. I do think, while I loved that version of Peter Parker, I do think what they did at the end when the Ultimate Universe went away was a bit of a cop-out. But I still love the stories. I love the take with Miles, that he's got spider powers, but it's from a different spider. It's a whole different world for him, a whole different thing. Not everything is the same as it was for Peter. And I think that's just awesome, a whole fresh new take on it. And then, of course, there's you've got your other version of Spider-Man. You can do the Ben Reilly Spider-Man, which was also technically the same thing as Mayday Parker, the Spider Girl from M2. They both had pretty much the same costume. If you ever read her origin story, you'll know why. But you could go as one of the Scarlet Spiders. And then, of course, there's the Superior Spider-Man, who was actually, well, I'm not going to say he was better than Peter, but honestly, I really liked Superior Spider-Man a lot. I love that whole Doc Ock in the mind of Peter's body and the whole, being better than Peter in a lot of ways. And I thought, that was a really genuine, fresh take on it, Peter's lost his powers before, Peter's died before, Peter's, had people replace him for one reason or another before, but never quite like this. And never somebody that could match Peter on that kind of intelligence level, Doc Ock wasn't superior to Peter in the sense of, Peter was superior to him when it came to teamwork, to friends, to socializing, to being that hero that we all need. But Octavius brought the whole new level of he was superior to Peter when it came to strategy, when it came to being able to push those things away that needed to be pushed to the side at certain times. Now, obviously, he took it too far in a lot of ways. And, it's by the end of it, Peter was still more of a hero than Doc Ock. But there was no denying the place that Superior Spider-Man took and rose to. And that's another one I would love to see at Dragon Con, to be honest, because I've not seen one yet. And that one, or honestly, a fun one to do, but this one kind of starts backtracking a little bit on the, hey, this is going to be awesome, this is going to be easy. With a week left, I would not suggest the Iron Spider in any of its forms, whether it's the Iron Man version or the old 90s armor suit version, unless you were just really quick at making that stuff together. Then the only one I would suggest would be the Iron Man version, because at least then the only thing you're having to craft extra are the quote-unquote mechanical arms, and everything else is still just that bodysuit. Which, since it's an Iron Man costume, once again, I would definitely suggest metallic lycra for something like that. But there you have it. That's kind of my take on a very quick, I can't even say march to Dragon Con. In this version, I'm going to have to say the full-on sprint to Dragon Con. But definitely a full bodysuit would be what I would suggest to do with the short amount of time that we have left, if you haven't already got something together. And it doesn't even have to be Spider-Man, but that's just my big suggestion, because it's easy, it's really quick, and it's full suit. So it definitely makes it to where it's like, if for whatever reason you're self-conscious about anything, no one can see your face, no one can see any part of you. And if you do want a full body suit that you can at least keep your head uncovered, a Green Lantern outfit is always pretty simple as well. Same thing, full body suit, skin tight, force stretch lycra, and Green Lantern rings can be found anywhere, and hey, your head's uncovered. And then the only extra thing you gotta do, and that's if you want to do it, is an eyepiece. Because, let's face it, Jon Stewart rocks without an eyepiece all the time. Same with Guy Gardner. So, that one's touch and go there. But definitely want to look into that. And, with a full-on sprint to Dragon Con, I may or may not follow this up with an article about the same thing. I may just do a different thing for next week. But, the only way to find out is if you tune in. So I'll see you all next week for the next issue. And maybe next week for Dragon Con.